but I would really like to encourage folks, if you know someone who can help us out by getting some MAGA friends in the box, please share with your favorite friends. Hold down my forehead and just hit share. Send it out to as many folks as you know, friend or foe. I can reserve a box for a friendly if somebody wants to jump in, and we can sit and chat for a few minutes until we get some activity. But again, the goal here is to try to have as many conversations as possible, because there are people out there who we'd like to hear from, and there may be a few who don't want to be labeled as scared, soft, and weak, or who don't want to be labeled as someone who is, how should we put it, not necessarily attuned with what is happening. That's the biggest issue. And I worry that so many of the people in the cult will never leave the cult because they are afraid to address their own mediocrity, so to speak. Mike isn't. Wow. Yes. Thank you. I will. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, guys. Okay. I appreciate that. Again, the box is open. If you want to come up and just chat, we can talk about a few things. There's a couple things that are on my mind based on some contradictory information coming from the White House. So you have Stephen Miller, who is the Deputy Chief of Staff, saying this.
To the illegal alien from El Salvador who came back to the United States. Does anyone here know?
Hold on.
Anyone?
Is the president going to ask for him to be returned to the United States?
This audio's weird.
Yes or no?
First of all, it's not a question for me to answer, but I think that the assumption that underlies the question is what needs to be corrected, which is that there was no mistake that was made.
Okay, so that's Stephen Miller, the Deputy Chief of Staff. I know if you can hear that, but the audio sounded really weird. He said there was no mistakes made in regard to the illegal deportation of Mr. Garcia. That is the Deputy Chief of Staff. Okay, this is how we know the entire administration is. This is how we know the entire administration is lying. The Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Joseph Goebbels Miller, is lying. He has said that there was no mistake made. Pam Bondi, who is the Attorney General of the United States, the lead law enforcement officer in our nation, this is what she had to say about that same question. Okay.
First of all, it was an administrative error.
Okay, so Stephen Miller, on the same topic, Stephen Miller said there was no mistake made. Pam Bondi says it was an administrative error. So which is it? Which is it? which is it? Which one is it? I'm curious. Which one? Is it that there was no mistake made, or was it there's an administrative error? Mike, jump in the box, my guy. I saw you down there. You said there's no manhood in the Democratic Party. Come on up and tell me that. I'm curious. You've got enough followers, unless you're busy. You know, unless there's assistant manager training, you might want to just jump in the box and just prove that you're wrong. Please come on up and we can have that conversation. So which is it? See, here's the thing. This is the problem now that the Trump administration finds them in. Mr. Garcia is likely not coming back to the United States. I hate to have to say that. But there's no way that Bukele, because he's bragged about the fact that no one's ever gotten out of any of his horrible concentration camp style prisons alive. So that's not going to happen. The president of our president, the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing, fraudster, convicted felon, is not going to bring him back, because that would admit that they were wrong. And of course, they never do that. So he's Mickey Mantle. He's not, sir. And we can prove it. So why don't you come in and we can talk? Come on in, Mickey. Just sent you an invite, Mickey. Come on up. Let's talk about it. I'm curious because I'd like to hear your perspective on it, because one of us is right and one of us is wrong. So I'd like to have that conversation. I don't know why you won't come up. Come on, Mickey. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blew my mind. Hey, Mickey. Hey, Mickey. Give you 5 minutes? Okay, I'll be here in 5 minutes. So that's the thing, right? That we have to listen. We've got to face the cold hard truth. I don't think Mr. Garcia is going to be released. Okay, I don't. Codster, please jump in the box. You've got enough followers. Come on, jump in the box. Because it would admit defeat. Again, Bukele, if you think about that Oval Office interview once again, where they were passing the buck, saying, I can't release him because I can't smuggle an American citizen out of my country. You could just release him. You could release him to the senators that are down there now visiting, and you've already denied them having access. So what are you hiding? Okay? So he's not going to release him. The president, our president's not going to do anything to extradite him from the country because they sent them there unlawfully. You got Pam Bondi saying one thing. You got Stephen Miller saying something else. They are just blatantly lying to you. And no, he is not a gang member. The only people that said he was a gang member was ICE. They're the ones that said that. Again, this is what Pam Bondi had to say about that entire thing. Tells on herself.
First of all, it was an administrative error as to why he was deported. And he is a known gang member. ICE testified he was a gang member, and we believe he should stay where he is.
ICE testified that he's a gang member. That'd be like saying the officer who pulled you over for reckless driving, that you said you did not recklessly drive, and you want to debate it in court. That officer is the judge and the jury. So ICE, right? So ICE, who illegally detained him, that led to his deportment, saying that he was a gang member, where the courts, through interviewing and through testimony and depositions submitted by the government and his attorneys, said that no, we have no evidence of him being a gang member. He's not committed a crime in El Salvador, nor in the United States. He had permission to be here. He was granted a worker status, protected, so that he could not be deported back to El Salvador. So they're lying to you. Lying to you. And I guess this is proof, based on the comments that we've seen in the chat already tonight, right? This is proof that you're scared, soft, and weak. You can't stand up to the administration. They're telling you all these horrible things about this person, and none of them are true. It's not like one or two. It's none of them. None of them are true. She tries to equate, and then there's more of this.
You know, the defense had argued that he was, a journeyman, that he was training to be an electrician. Well, the last gang member we arrested, who was a violent murderer, was also hanging wallpaper in a place called The Villages in Florida, one of the biggest retirement places in our country. So these people are living among us. One of the big cases we had, I think you're very aware of, half an hour from where we're standing, was another violent gang member living right among us in a very, very nice residential neighborhood. Wreaths on the door next door to him, children's bicycles. So that's what these gangs do. They infiltrate our country and they live among us.
So Drew, you asked a question. Jump in the box. Let's talk about it. Your question was, why was he in danger of another gang if he wasn't affiliated with a gang? His family was under threats. Have you ever been to countries like El Salvador? Ever been to countries who deal with cartel? And, you guys tell us every day that we have to be worried about the cartels. Well, that exists in other countries. He was not a member. Doesn't mean that other family members or businesses are. He's not under threat. He was cleared. He was granted protected status in our country to not be deported back. So here you are again, believing a lie. So which is it? Was there an administrative error, Drew, or was there not? Because you got two members of your administration that you love so much, they're telling you two different things. Was there a mistake made, or was there not a mistake made? That's the question. I don't know why you're afraid to talk about it. You don't have to hide in the comment section. You just come up and talk about it. If you've got evidence that can refute that, then tell me. I don't live in feelings. We don't talk about the fifis. Okay? We don't. And Drew, I think we've spoken before. It's been a while. I know you missed me, sugar. Come on up, kiss. I'll rub your temples for you. Just accept the reality that you're being lied to. Just accept it, and then be angry about that and say, why the fuck are you lying to me? If you support everything else, if you support mass deportation, you always said okay, then come on up, Drew, and we can talk about it. Come on up. The only way we can resolve this is if we talk about it. I want you to be able to address a few things that we know to be factual and we can have that conversation, okay? It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. And you shouldn't be afraid, okay? Come on up. Tapping is clapping, friends. Sharing is caring. Don't be afraid, Drew. Everybody wants you to be here. Everybody, blue hearts in the chat for Drew. Drew, if you come up, well, I'll ask everybody to give you lipstick for gifts. That'll cheer you up. Anyway, you may or may not. It's kind of proving the point, though, right? If you have questions about it, or if you're convinced of something that contradicts what I'm saying, then let's talk about it. Let's explain. Let's let you provide what you have for sources. I'll do the same, and then we can make a determination. I've got people on tape saying, right, the same ones who peddle the panic also sell the cure. Exactly. I've got two contradicting opinions from people who are not only the assistant to the the deputy chief of staff, and the Attorney General of the United States have two contradictory stories. One says there were no mistakes made. The other said there was an administrative error. So which is it? Is an administrative error not a mistake? If you move the decimal point over 10 on your spreadsheet and you cost your company thousands of dollars, would that not be an administrative error, but a mistake? Don't be afraid of the conversation. Only one of them can be true. And it's actually not even an administrative error. It's a massive screw up. And now the response for you constitutionalists, right? Those of you who really believe in the sanctity of the Constitution, separation of powers, one party, one branch oversees the other branch, right? One branch is responsible for oversight over the other and vice versa. When the judicial branch tells the executive branch that, oh, by the way, what you did is illegal. And if you do not respond, we are going to open up contempt hearings. So we can just add it to the list, right? Add it to the list of civilly liable for grape. We can add it to the list of 34 felony convictions. We can add it to the list of fraud in the state of New York, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we can add insurrection and all that other stuff, crimes against democracy and everything else, attempting to overthrow the government, withholding classified information. And then we can add contempt charges. That just kind of completes the circle, right? Nice. Why don't you care? Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for people who are so devout in their loyalty? Maybe I'm answering my own question. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, TJ. Appreciate you, my friend. Why is it so hard to just be objective? That's all we're asking for. Just be objective. Just look at the information, not with your feelings. Just look at the information. We can go to any source that you want. We can talk about what happened. We can go to the court records. We can go to the decision. We can go to what the hearing said. We can go to the fact that the administration is admitting they made a mistake if you're not Stephen Miller. We've got Caroline Levitt, KKK Caroline, saying the president of El Salvador can't do anything. We got the president of El Salvador saying, I can't do anything. We got the president of the United States saying, I can't do anything. So someone can. He's an American citizen. The United States could, I know what it is. Money. Yeah. President Bukele is getting money, millions of dollars from U.S. taxpayer dollars to keep that American citizen locked up. Now there's new reporting of apparently his name was identified in a restraining order filed by his former ex-wife. Guess what? It's not the same guy. Different dude. Entirely different person. Not the same guy. So that's another lie that the right's going to run with. It is so easy. Yeah. He's granted citizenship, Drew. Okay? So through the asylum process, he has a right to be here. He has a right to be here. Jump in the box, Drew. If you control in the chat, you can jump in the box or we'll just mute you. It's not worth our time. People want to hear what you have to say. Please, oh wise one, jump in the box. What right did he lose, Tom? What right did he lose? Just send you an invite, Tom. What right did he lose? Would like to know. I'm just curious. What right did he lose? I'm not desperate, Drew. Just you're making all these claims, and I just want to have a conversation. I'm not going to talk to the chat. I'd rather talk to you. What, Tom? Why did he lose that right? Tom C, can you please? I just sent you an invite. Please come up and we can talk about it. What right did he lose? And why did he lose the right? This is what we're trying to unpack. Tom, you're kind of proving it too. Scared, soft, and weak. Why? Why is that? And where is the line, Tom? So is it everybody that looks like they may be in a gang? Do we just round them up too without due process? Or do you think that he doesn't? Oh, I see what it is, Tom. I don't think you think he has due process rights. Is that what it is? Okay. Then that's fine. So if you don't think he has due process, then you've never read the Constitution. Because any person on American soil has rights to due process. And you don't have to believe me. You can believe the Constitution. That's what the Constitution says. So I just want to know where you get this from. Again, probably a bad idea. We know that MAGA doesn't want to debate anymore because they can't win. All they do is rage quit and scream and yell and go cry in the corner. But maybe tonight's different. Yep. Maybe tonight is a little different. SCOTUS 9-0 says he got due process. SCOTUS, wait, what? SCOTUS ruled that the Trump administration has to facilitate the release of Mr. Garcia, who they illegally deported. That's what SCOTUS said. District court judge said facilitate and effectuate. The district court judge clarified by saying, I've given them enough time to provide us updates, and they've not done it. And the Trump administration is ignoring the request not only from the district judge, but the SCOTUS. And then the SCOTUS, or then the district court judge said, okay, then we're going to start contempt hearings because you are violating the law, the judge's orders. That's the law. The law is not the president of the United States. The law is not the attorney general. Then Rocky, jump in. Rocky Rinker and your 15 followers. You can jump in the box too. Guys are so afraid. It's weird. It's so weird. Where can I find proof that it was not him in DV case? You can just read about it. You can just read it. Instead of just looking at the headline that you believe this person was in a DV case, you can just read it. Oh, Victoria, I have something for you. Hang on a second. I made this just for you. You have your own walk-up song now.
Love that for me. Love that. Love the Office throwback. Love that for me. Love the energy here. Maybe we should change the background because they like the all men thing because that really gets their feathers ruffled. You know?
I don't know if I have anything that I can change it to.
I mentioned misogynistic today, and dude crashed out on me. I think you were in the comments for that one. He crashed out so quick. Yeah, weak MAGA does work. I agree with that.
Let's do this. Let's do this one. Let's do this.
Should I make Silver Facts blush tonight?
Whatever.
Fine.
Okay, let's do this one.
Okay. So scared, soft, and weak.
Yeah, it's a game show. Scared, soft, and weak, grape apologist, fake Christian, willfully ignorant, or anti-American. You could be all the above.
I was on Diaba's live and I was doing, okay, you've checked this box and checked this box. Which other boxes would you like to check while you're here? I need to put it on my whiteboard of like, all the isms and misogynistic and all that, and I just like check the box as they start ticking the boxes. Just so they can see that physical representation.
Yeah, I mean, again, like this conversation should be really simple, specifically as it relates to this case with Mr. Garcia. Like, again, this is my opinion, my opinion only. I don't think he's coming back to the country.
No,
I really don't. I don't think he's coming back for two reasons. Like I said them earlier. One, because the president of Mexico brags about the fact that no one has ever gotten out of his prisons alive, for one. So I can't see him releasing him. And the Trump administration would never admit that they screwed up.
Erica would like to know what she walked into.
Well, we just walked into the fact that no one seems to be interested in having a conversation. We've had 3 people that have chirped quite loudly in the chat, but they don't want to come up and talk, which is fine. It's fine.
All right, MAGA, it's all
capitalism.
men till it's no men. Let's go, dudes.
Yeah, it is. It is all men until it's no men. I don't think I have a background for that. I probably do somewhere, but it might take me forever to find it.
That's totally fine. I mean, I can just say it and just freak them out.
Oh, yeah, you can do that. Let me just have some conversations here. Okay. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Master Chief, are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, I am a Trump supporter.
You are?
Yes.
Okay, so what kind of MAGA are you? Scared, soft, and weak? Grave apologist?
I'm the kind of MAGA you don't fuck with. I'm ultra MAGA. MAGA.
Oh, cool. Sweet. So I should be intimidated?
Be whatever you want to be. I don't care. That's you.
Okay. So can you tell me why you support Donald Trump? And let's try to, let's prove to folks that you can have an adult conversation. Okay?
Well, that's actually what I wanted to talk about. The reason we don't come to your guys' lives anymore is because when we come up, we can't have a conversation because as soon as there's a disagreement, you guys turn to censorship and start muting the mics. In fact, a lot of people, a lot of Democrats, they'll ask me a question and then mute my mic. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, from our perspective, can you understand why someone would do that? Let me try to explain it. Would you be interested in know why we do that?
Usually it happens because you guys did something that made you lose a debate or something like that. Or somebody said something that you disagree with.
It's not about disagreeing.
Sometimes somebody is being belligerent. I understand that though.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. If I'm talking to somebody in a conversation and I've asked them to stop talking so I can respond and they continue to talk and I'm the host, shouldn't I be able to mute their microphone?
I mean, if they keep interrupting, yeah. But see, what generally happens is you guys will interrupt us, so then we'll get louder and then you'll censor us. So I think we have to be civil enough to take turns.
Okay, so I don't disagree with that, but I also don't platform hate and misinformation. So if I have people in my panel that I'm talking to and they start spewing anti-trans rhetoric or bigoted rhetoric or racist rhetoric, then I'm not going to have a conversation. That's my choice. I'm not going to have that conversation.
It's your live host, man. It's your live. I'm just telling you why we don't come up anymore a lot of the time. My average lifespan on a Democrat live is like 20 seconds.
Well, maybe that's more on you than anybody else, right?
No, it's like before I even speak, I go down as soon as I say I'm a MAGA because people are very hateful and triggering on your side.
Are you still here?
That makes sense. I guess I'm still here for now.
Okay.
All right. So I had a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure. No problem.
All right. First question. Would you agree with me that these hostilities, it's time for these political hostilities to end in our country? Would you agree with me on that?
I think the premise of your question is weird. Maybe a better way to ask it, would it be great if some of the hostilities could end? Then yes, I would agree.
Okay, so we found some common ground.
So would it be great if, from your perspective, if some of the hostilities could end?
No, for everybody's perspective, it should end.
Okay, well,
it's gone too far is what I'm trying to say.
Well, why do you think that is? Yeah, why do you think it has, Master Chief? Why do
Well,
you think
it's because we're more divided than ever before. You see, we have
Okay,
people on our side. I'm trying to answer your question, but why? Okay, that's a great question. I don't actually have that answer as to how it came to be what it is today, but there's a lot of people that are anti-American, and then you got a lot of people who are pro-American. There's a lot of the divisions being caused with like an American identity issue, I would say. Okay. So those are some things I would say that would be too.
Okay. Do you think I'm anti-American? I
don't know you.
Okay. So so you voted for Donald Trump and you called yourself ultra MAGA. I would classify you as anti-American. Do you want to know why?
Why is that?
Okay. Because do you believe in the Constitution?
I'm a constitutional specialist.
Specialist. What's the Sixth Amendment?
What's the Sixth Amendment? Let's see here.
Without looking
at it. That's like hold on. Let me answer. That's like how you're to be tried, okay? Okay. So like sure. That's your process of how you're to be tried in the court of law. That's what the Sixth Amendment is.
Somewhat. Okay. So let's go back. I'm going to explain to you why I think
that you're an American.
Is. Okay, somewhat. I'm gonna
process of how you're to be tried in America.
Remember you said you were complaining about being interrupted, and now you're interrupting me, and I let you talk. Okay, so this would be an example of why someone gets muted because they expect to have things a certain way, then they don't follow their own rules. Okay.
You asked me the question, I answered it.
No, I was telling you why I think you're anti-American. I think you're anti-American because Donald Trump violates the Constitution on a daily basis. And because people who voted for him don't ever call it out, that means you support violating the Constitution that you claim to love so much. That's anti-American.
Okay, can you be more specific as to where these constitutional violations are?
Do you think a protest on a college campus can be deemed illegal by the President of the United States?
No.
He's done that.
I mean, I think you have to have a permit to have one of those protests, though. I'm not sure. Different. I would have to look at the details of it.
Okay, so the fact that he claimed that he said college campuses that allow illegal protests will lose their federal funding, which is suppression of speech, right?
Illegal protest since on a college campus, which is private property. Yep, that'd be about right.
So that would be violation of people's rights, correct?
You're on the private property. That's not. You have to protest on public property.
No, you don't. You have to have permission you have to have permission from the university. That's why you have those public speakers.
Okay, then you would have to go to the university then. Otherwise, it would be illegal.
But if you're a student, right? Okay, I'll give you another example.
That wasn't a good one.
Yes, it was. It was a fantastic one. You just don't agree with it.
It was not.
No, it absolutely was. It was a great one. You just don't. All
right, believe what you want to believe.
Okay, well, again, this is my point. You're kind of proving my point now. We're approaching the crash out phase. So let's talk about freedom of the press, for example. Does the President of the United States get to tell news media and news outlets what they can cover?
The Democrats do that all the time.
It's not what I asked you.
I have not seen the sitting president do that. No.
So just yesterday, as a matter of fact, Donald Trump on Truth Social asked his FCC coordinator, FCC chairman, Brandon Carr, to investigate CNN, MSNBC, and NBC because of their what he calls slanted reporting against him.
Right, that's called slander. That's against the law in the First Amendment.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's reporting. No, it's not, my guy.
It's called. If you practice slander. That's when you go and you bear false witness. That's misinformation.
Slander would be no. Slander would be lies. Slander would be lies.
And that would be unconstitutional. And you use the word slander.
Hey, Master Chief, you're starting to do what you don't like. You're interrupting.
You're starting to lose, and then you're not liking it. So now you're getting triggered. And now your next move is to censor me because I'm more powerful than you politically.
I'm going to bet money he's a paid troll.
Yeah, I would think so. He sucks at this, and he thinks he's really good. So here's the problem, though. It doesn't really matter what I say to you because you are so deep into the cult. It doesn't matter what I tell you because you won't agree.
Because you're not hitting me with facts, though, my man.
I've hit you with another.
You haven't given me anything unconstitutional yet. I've debunked two so far.
No, you haven't.
I have.
No, you haven't. The president of the United States does not have the ability to tell news agencies that they can't cover him. He can't direct his FCC coordinator to remove the licenses of news agencies because there's this little thing that we have called freedom of the press. That is not the determination of the executive branch of the White House.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. But then you said before that if there was slander involved, that there would be an issue. And that's what I was just merely stating.
Then you would sue. Then you would sue somebody for slander. You don't get to remove their access. You don't get to take their license away.
Wouldn't that be called misinformation? And that's like a huge thing on TikTok. If you use misinformation, you get censored.
Can you follow a conversation? Can you stay on a topic?
I'm following it. I'm with it.
So that, okay, then listen. Do you believe that the FCC, the Federal Communication Commissions, at the direction of the White House, can take a license away from a news agency because the president doesn't like how they're being covered? Yes or no?
I don't know. I just saw CNN and MSNBC in that press conference. So
can you answer the question, please?
They have the freedom of the press to cover.
That's right. So then the president then telling his FCC commissioner to take their licenses away would be what? Violation of what?
You can lose your license, okay, if you keep misusing it, just like a driver's license.
Have you ever held an FCC license?
I'm not even aware of this taking out the freedom of the press. I haven't seen this, so I'm not really sure where you're trying to go with it.
Okay, so again, can you answer my question, please?
Do you believe? I have a question for you.
No,
I've answered your question.
No, you have not answered my question.
A news source should be able to go out there, a public news source, and give false information.
God, listen, what's going to happen? Listen, man, listen. Okay, we're not going to play this game. No, you have to answer my question.
I've answered 3 or 4 of your questions, and you've not answered one.
I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to answer. I'm going to ask. You haven't answered
a little triggered.
Do you believe that the president of the United States can direct the FCC to take away the broadcast license of news agencies who only report on things that he doesn't like? Yes or no?
Has one of these licenses been taken yet?
Would you answer the question, Kraft? Answer the question.
I already answered it.
You have
that they have the freedom of the press. How many times do I got to say this for you?
Okay, so then you agree that violating the freedom of press would be a violation of the Constitution, and you support Donald Trump, who does that. Therefore, you're anti-American. Thank you.
There are press laws, okay, where you can't do slander, which was the word you used before I did.
No, you brought up slander, not me.
You cannot go out there and say Donald Trump did something on a public broadcasting system that he didn't do.
Well, what did he not do? But what did he not do? They're just reporting.
It doesn't matter. When you report on something, it has to be factual.
You're starting to
you
yell.
can't say Donald Trump invaded England today because you want to say that. Okay, because that would be slander.
I'm gonna say, as a candidate for U.S. Congress, Donald Trump likes to hang out with Schnazis. How does that make you feel?
Are you aware that the Democrats
I don't want to go there.
Nazis were Democratic National Socialists?
I don't want to go there yet because he's going
to. I don't even want to go down there for either. I don't know where she came into this.
Okay, so anyway,
we're talking about freedom of the press right now.
Yeah,
right?
I have a question for you, Kraft. So since we're talking about freedom of the press, since you believe,
I'll be happy to answer your questions, ma'am, but I haven't gotten a chance to ask any yet.
No,
I don't think
this is very fair.
You haven't answered the question.
I've answered his question.
No, you haven't. Right. You've pivoted away by using words like. So
how many times? Keep asking me the question. Then how many times are you going to ask me the same question?
Here comes the crash.
And then I asked you, did anybody lose their license yet? And you didn't answer that because it didn't happen.
No, Kraft. But telling the FCC chairman to investigate license removal and fines from news agencies would be a direct violation of freedom of the press. Okay? I'll give you another.
In the case of slander, the press would have misused their First Amendment rights.
We're not talking about slander.
And would then be losing their rights.
Friend, slander is something you would sue for. So when Dominion, for example, sued Fox News, that was for slander and defamation. That's what you do. If you find something that is erroneously reported or egregiously wrong, then you sue. You don't attempt to use your power of the executive to have your FCC chairman take away your rights to free press.
Do you believe that you should? Do you believe that you should have freedom of speech here on TikTok?
No, I don't.
You don't. Why is that?
No, because I'm not the government.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're not the government.
It's a private
so
organization.
the government gives you your freedom of speech, is what you're telling me.
You have freedom
Constitution,
of speech,
the Constitution grants you your freedom of speech. Yes.
You just
Right, not the government. The
repercussions.
government doesn't do that. So why would the government have anything to do with your freedom of speech?
No.
I asked you, do you believe you should have freedom of speech? And you said, this is what you said. I'm not the government, and no. So you don't believe you should have freedom of speech here on TikTok.
No, you said on
it's just
TikTok.
so ironic that the only reason that we're still here on TikTok is because of Trump. And if you want my personal opinion on it, if I was Trump, I would shut this app down because this app is anti-freedom of speech. So why are you up here giving me a speech out here? That's all you got? Man, look at you, man.
Real quick.
That's weak.
Hey, I want to ask you a question because I want to clarify.
No, we got to watch this dumbass dance for a little bit. Dance, dumbass, dance. Yeehaw!
So Crash. Hang on one second, Victoria. Hang on one second.
Okay,
Victoria, hang on one second. So Crash. This is the thing, and that's why I'm going to call you Crash now as opposed to Craft, because you're crashing. It's unnecessary. If you want to have a conversation, you can have a conversation, but you're not looking very well. I mean, I know you're going to go back into your.
I've answered. You haven't answered any of my. Can I have the next question? I've answered all the questions to the best of my ability.
Okay. Well, you didn't, but if that's the best we get, then that's fine. So here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Right.
Here's the thing. You asked me a question if I think we have free speech here on TikTok, and I said no, we don't, because this is a private platform.
That's not what you said. You said I'm not the government. No, and I'm not the government. That's what you said originally.
Right, because you asked me.
The government shouldn't have that power over you. This is the difference between a MAGA and you guys.
No,
is that you guys think that you need to serve the government, and the government has the power, but it's actually we, the people, and the government that should serve us. It's in the Constitution. You're making a fool of yourself here in front of all these people, man. See how he has to interrupt me, everybody, because he's losing this so bad. He just can't figure it out. He's a loyalist to the government. The government gives him his rights. That's how he thinks, and that's not the truth. The government works for us. Our rights are God-given. They're irrefutable.
I don't believe in God, so does that mean I don't have rights?
It doesn't matter if you believe in God or not.
Well, then I don't believe I got my rights from God.
Well, then I guess you don't have any rights.
Okay, so I have no rights. Okay, so here's the problem, Crash. Here's the problem, Crash. It doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter what I say because you are so deep into the cult. It doesn't matter. I'll give you an example. Do you believe that any
That must be why you're a Democrat, because you like other people taking your rights.
I'm not
because you can't think for yourself. So you need others to do it for you.
So you don't want to answer questions?
I've done nothing but answer questions. I'd like to ask a few.
Well, you asked one that was ridiculous, but feel free. Go ahead, ask a question. Go ahead. I'll humor you.
Did you vote for Kamala? I take it you did?
Proudly, absolutely.
Okay, so would you agree with me that the Democratic Party doesn't have a very good look right now, considering losing the election, the swing states, the popular vote, the 20% approval rating, which is just Democrats? That means 1 out of every 5 Democrats is approving of this party.
You asked a question.
Do you think it has a good look right now, or does it not?
You asked me a question. You're going to let me answer it or no?
That's it. That's my question.
Cool. I'm not a Democrat. I've been raging against the status quo Democrats for a very, very long time. Fuck the Democrats. I'm a progressive. I want our country to move forward. But I also know that Kamala Harris was the most qualified person to likely ever run for the presidency. So she got my vote.
What made her so qualified? What did she do for you? Yeah, what did she do for you?
What did she do for me individually? I don't vote for me. I vote for other people. I vote for marginalized communities. I vote for women's rights to their body. I vote for the trans community. I vote for the LGBTQI community. I vote for lower cost housing. I vote for going after price gouging in corporate America. I vote for tax reform that benefits the middle class. That's why I voted for her. Do you not believe in any of those things?
I believe in all of those things, to be honest with you, but I didn't see any of that coming from her.
Did you read her
policies? I mean, I could go through all 5 of the things you just named. You want to start with Roe v. Wade? I'll go with that one first. That's easy. Well, she went out there and said she could return it to the federal level. I'm talking now, man. Now you interrupted me, host.
I didn't mention Roe v. Wade.
You're talking about women's rights. What were you referring to?
Women's rights to healthcare.
Yeah, they have it.
They don't.
They do.
They don't. Victoria,
all right, let me ask you a quick question so we're on the same page.
Nope.
Where do your federal rights come from?
Excuse me.
Victoria, where do your federal rights come from?
Do you have rights to your body wherever you go, Victoria?
No, I do not. I live in Tennessee, which actually goes one step further because we are held by MAGA Republicans who support Trump.
Yeah, so
I don't actually have rights to my body. I actually have less rights in the state that I live in than I would have in another state. But because I live here and I'm currently running for U.S. Congress, I'm trying to better represent Tennesseans. But I don't have rights to my body, to answer your question. No, I don't.
So you don't believe...
Well, when you mean your body, though, what are you referring to?
So Crash, you don't believe that women should have rights to their body?
Of course I do. I respect women.
You do? You voted for Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah, I voted for Donald Trump.
How can you respect women if you voted for Trump?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of a question is that?
Do you want me to give you an example, Crash, of why I don't have rights to my body?
Yeah, I'm trying to talk to her a little bit about this, and she's a woman, and this host is like freaking out. Go ahead, lady.
Am I freaking?
I'm trying to hear her.
Hey, Crash, by the way.
Well, because I'm trying to hear her, and you keep interrupting. I'm trying to hear what this woman has to say, and you keep interrupting this woman.
Sweet. You know what? I
actually wanted to hear this. I want to listen to this woman.
Cool.
And you keep interrupting this woman. It's not very gentlemanlike of you. Cool, you don't seem like you have very much respect for women and their voice. Since we were talking about freedom of speech. Go ahead, man. I want to hear this.
Sweet. Crash, let's level set. Can you tell me what you had for breakfast? I'm sorry, for dinner today?
I'm waiting to listen to...
Nobody fucking cares. You had enough time.
I was waiting for it. He did.
You had enough time.
I know words. I have the best words. But there's no better word than stupid.
I love how he kept calling me woman, this lady, even though literally it says Victoria in my name.
Yeah, Hoodlum, I'm likely to let you up here like I'm going to wish and hope that I get double hemorrhoids. So you can go fuck yourself. Don't bother coming back.
For Crash Out, because I know you're still listening. Sweetheart, I don't have rights to my body because if I got pregnant today and anything went wrong, I would not be able to get medical care in my district, to the point that the OBGYN in my direct community has decided that she is going to stop giving vaccines to children and make all the parents take their kids to the health department because of her beliefs, because she is a dyed-in-the-wool MAGA Republican. So,
and let's just level set for our friend Crash. Freedom of speech means that the government cannot suppress the speech of its citizens. That's what freedom of the speech means. Freedom of the press means the government cannot suppress the press. Freedom of religion means the government can't tell you what you can and can't pray to or pray for. The government cannot keep you from petitioning against the government for your grievances. That's what the government does. This is not the government. So when I told you or asked you what you had for breakfast and dinner, and then when I kicked your punk ass to the curb, that is not me suppressing your freedom of speech, Cupcake. That was just me taking out the trash.
You said a bad word. You said a bad word, Steve.
I did?
You said cupcake. No. I got a live violation for calling someone a cupcake.
I'm sorry about that. Really sorry about that. Said no one ever. So again, just I've spoken to Crash Master Craft before, and it's just a piece of trash. And he knows he is, and he just needs the attention, and that's fine. But anyway, so we're back at it. I do want to bring up the other background because I do like it better. This one is, but that's fine. But whatever happens, happens. We may not get anybody else tonight, but it's okay.
I charge for kink shaming. Like, I don't mind dog walking, MAGA, but I do charge for that. It's a little less. I charge more for dog walking than I do for therapy, and I'm not a licensed therapist. But I do charge.
Obi and Tracy, I see you guys. I'm just looking for ops right now. LJ, if you're not opposition, if you wouldn't mind just dropping out of the box, just would love to have some more conversations because people like the crash outs. It's an interesting question. So you have to keep in mind the way in which MAGA asks questions, because I'm an active listener. I've been told I'm a good listener, and it takes training to be an active listener. So you have to ask how they ask the questions, which is an intent to try to get you to trip up if you're not paying attention. But Crash has probably barely held a hand in his life. Mm-hmm. Again, Hoodlum, you're not coming up here. Don't even bother requesting, my guy. I would not have you in my space if my life depended on it.
Hoodlum,
I would close my eyes and walk away.
So if you Venmo me $50, I will give that $50 to Steve, and I will dog walk you.
No, he's not coming here. I don't care if it's $1,000. If you want to host a live, you can bring him up. He's not coming to my space.
He doesn't come to my spaces. It's fine.
He's blocked on my main. I guess he's just not blocked here. So let's make sure we do that right now, because you're not coming back, because you're a trash human being.
He doesn't deserve to be platformed, guys. He's a hateful human.
Yep. Don't even bother. Don't waste your time. He's not worth it. He's not worth anybody's time. He's a despicable, horrible human being who knows that about himself, who doesn't care. And I would encourage anybody who's on the left who hosts debate lives, if you want to bring up somebody like Hoodlum just to get clicks and views, then shame on you. Don't ever tell me that you're a defender of marginalized communities if you want to platform that level of hate. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, here we are. So how was your day?
I'm just alive. I'm here. If someone wants to buy me a beer, I'd happily take it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
just
get that.
Working my liberal job. We did get my protest got canceled for this weekend, so I'm trying to see what I'm going to fill my time with, or if I'm just going to spend time with the tiny humans.
It's a good call. Call. I just again want to remind people of a few things. We do this a little bit differently. That's why we don't have our normal debates. At least we don't schedule them when we do Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to noon. By the way, just a couple of quick announcements. Got to deal with an appointment with my kid tomorrow, so no live tomorrow morning, and then likely no live Friday because I got to take my other kid, get her ready for her trip to France. So sorry about that. I'll miss you guys tomorrow morning, but no live tomorrow or no live Friday, and no Facts After Dark on Friday night because my other son is graduating. My other son is graduating college in just a couple months, and he has his senior presentation is on Friday night. So it's going to be a busy dad duty couple of days that I'll be all over the place. But
dang it, Luke! My link tree's not working again. Go figures. My kitties are good. My kittens are good. Should we do we need a kitten palette cleanser for Crash Out before I hop off?
Yeah, sure. You can do that.
Okay.
Everybody keep tapping and sharing. Thank you. And please help us hit the gifting goal. We'd really, really appreciate that. It's been a long time since we've hit a gifting goal. So I don't ask for much, y'all. And, listen to that. Oh, my goodness. Hold on a second. Look at the big screen. Oh, my goodness gracious. Holy moly.
I think Kipper needs a little friend.
I've got one of those around here, too, but we don't need another one because he's a monster.
Well, they will be raised around two fur babies, tiny humans, and other kitties. Where are you going, buddy?
They will be just fine. They know where to butter their bread, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mama's down there like, what's going on? I know, little baby. This one's one of the younger ones because one of the eyes still hasn't really opened yet. So,
all right. See if I can bring up.
Well, I will drop down. I got to go finish my liberal job and then go pick up tiny humans. So.
Okay. Thank you for being here. See you later.
Bye.
Love you too. Bye. I gotcha. Jeannie, are you there? Hi, Jeannie. How are you?
Hi. No, I'm a Democrat. I'm sorry. I don't know
That's
how
okay.
I somehow got.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
somehow I don't know how.
Give you
Yeah,
30
go ahead.
seconds
I'm
if you
sorry.
want.
I'm so sorry.
I'll give you 30 seconds if you want. It's fine. I'll give you 30 seconds if you want to make a pitch or something. If not, then that's okay too.
No. I don't know how I did that accidentally. I apologize.
I got
so
you. Thank you for
sorry.
being here.
Okay,
No
thank
problem.
you.
I appreciate
Thank
you. See you
Have
later.
a good day.
You got it.
You
All right.
bet.
You too. Bye. So look, probably not going to get them. I think that they're afraid. They should be, because their best representatives are people like Crash, who, can you imagine being so scared, soft, and weak that you claim to be a constitutional scholar? I'll give him credit, at least without cheating. He knew somewhat about the Sixth Amendment. But to try to skirt around the fact that rights are being taken away from people every single day, and they will just use words that they don't even understand, like slander and defamation. They don't even know how that applies in this case. Can you imagine being that scared, soft, and weak that that's your argument? Wow. That's pretty bad. How big is my dog? The dog. Well, he's around here somewhere. He's big. He's 70 pounds now, and he is a horse. He does not like to be. He is still all puppy. He is all puppy. Funny. I was over the weekend. I took him to get pet food and stuff, and took him to the place where he got some initial puppy training. And we saw the trainer in there, and he immediately recognized her. And it was this great reunion. And every single command she gave him, he was like, boom, on it, just like that. Boom, 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 on it. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? And like, where have you been? Seriously, dude, I feed you. I take you for walks. And then that's the love I get. See? The drawbacks of being a goddamn empath. Whatever. Okay, I'll bring up Tracy real quick.
I don't know how I ended up here.
Okay. Nice to see you too.
Can you hear me?
Got you. Yes.
How are you?
Yes. Fine. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know. Last night I was on Amanda Rose's live, and we read through the SCOTUS decision, like read through the whole thing, and it was very enlightening. So I would recommend to your listeners that if you haven't read this most recent SCOTUS decision, I would do it. There's also information
as it relates to Mr. Garcia.
Correct, because it clarifies that he indeed was not granted initial asylum because he came when he was 16, and it was 7 years later. So he was denied that. However, he was given a stay, which is a type of asylum, because he was in fear for his life. If he'd have gone back to El Salvador or Guatemala, he would have been unalived. So they gave him a permanent stay, which means he's allowed to stay in the country legally because he met that asylum statute.
Correct. And he was also deemed a very productive worker. There was language in there about something along those lines. So he was no criminal convictions, no criminal charges in the U.S. or in El Salvador. So all the lies that the right have been talking about are just that, lies.
All of that. He if you read what Sotomayor put at the very end of this decision, it was enlightening because she called out the executive branch for sending aliens. I'm sorry, that's what they call them in these cases, via airline or whatever to El Salvador without due process. She made it clear that that violates the Constitution. She also made it clear that there would be, I don't know how to say this. She didn't say consequences, but essentially there would be consequences if they didn't follow through and bring Mr. Garcia back. They handed it back down to the district court to clarify a more substantive term of saying you must have him back. You must retrieve him from El Salvador, put him on a plane, bring him back to the United States. because
The
they said it
clarification was about
unclear.
the clarification, just specifically the clarification was about effectuating. So they initially the ruling
Correct.
was facilitate and effectuate. The Supreme Court said facilitate. They asked for clarification on effectuate. The district judge responded and said, I expect daily updates, and they've not provided any. And now the district
Yes.
court judge is going to open up investigations of contempt. So that's what we said.
Correct. So what that means, if because I was very precise in my questions to Barrister, and again, this was just his opinion. He's an attorney. This is just his opinion based on his experience. They will start calling in people that are connected to all of these deportations, and asking them what's happening, why it's happening, who's giving these orders, et cetera, and they will continue to go up the chain. And if these people do not do as SCOTUS has requested, they will be held in contempt and put into jail. So, and
That's right.
my next question was, who is Trump going to fire first that sings? Because that's what he did in his first term, is as soon as somebody did something he didn't like, he just fired them.
Yeah, I mean, we also know that Senator Van Hollen was down there. Senator from Maryland was down there today, was denied access. It's been confirmed. We know that the El Salvadoran government is getting $6 million a year, specifically, as it's been reported, to help fund these for-profit prisons. So, again, President Bukele has said no way he's going to allow him to leave because he's bragged about no one's ever gotten out of his prisons alive. So, Drew, I sent you an invite. I know you're still hanging out in the chat, so please come up. We can talk. This is, to your point, Pam Bondi says that there was an administrative error. Stephen Miller says there was no errors. So one of them, well, they're both lying because it was not just an administrative error. It was an egregious error that they are not going to correct. I hate to say this, but I don't think Mr. Garcia is coming back to the U.S. I really don't. I don't see how it happens.
I would unfortunately go a little further and say I would question as to whether he's still with us in general, because he was not a welcome person. He, like, as I said, his life was threatened, which is why they sent him to the U.S. and they threw him into the lion's den. So
correct.
I think the reason they're not letting anybody see him is maybe he's just not there anymore. And I hope that that's not true for his wife and children.
Yep, I think that's more the likely. I can't. There's no possible scenario in which, because oftentimes, if you think about the model of the Trump administration, and Tracy, thanks for jumping up and dropping down. Appreciate you being here, friend. Thanks a lot.
Okay, no problem.
I think the likelihood, because this is the MO for the Trump administration, unless they can get some kind of political win, they're not going to do it. And they're never going to admit their mistakes. The closest we've gotten is an administrative error. That's the closest that we've gotten to this entire thing, right? So let me just, since we're talking about this, let me just go through, because I've got some, hold on. I've got some of the details, because I think it's important as we're kind of going through this case that we remind ourselves what the facts are. So let's talk about that. That's not me. Hold on a second. I don't know where it is. I've got so many files open. Fine, whatever. The Pam Bondi's claim, let's listen to that again, because I think this is really important. Pam Bondi's claim is this. You'll hear it.
First of all, it was an administrative error as to why he was deported. And he is a known gang member. ICE testified he was a gang member.
ICE testified. So the claim that they've made is that ICE testified, and they're in the report, they said an unidentified source. Now, remember during the hearings for Pete Hegseth, Pete Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, oftentimes they used the term anonymous smears, which then got reiterated on right-wing echo chambers all day long. So it's okay for them to say anonymous smears, and even though in many cases they weren't anonymous, they actually had the interview transcripts. So in this case, ICE claims that he was a gang member, not confirmed by the judges, not even confirmed by the Justice Department when they went to the Supreme Court to petition the case. In fact, they said they have no direct evidence of his involvement in any gang activity at all. Never committed a crime, neither here nor in El Salvador. So Pam Bondi is flat out fucking lying.
Member, and we believe he should stay where he is. You know, the defense had argued that he was, a journeyman, that he was training to be an electrician. Well, the last gang member we arrested, who was a violent murderer, was also hanging wallpaper in a place called the Villages in Florida, one of the biggest retirement places in our country. So these people are living among us. One of the big cases we had, I think you're very aware of, half an hour from where we're standing, was another violent gang member living right among us in a very, very nice residential neighborhood, wreaths on the door next door to him, children's bicycles. So that's what these gangs do. They infiltrate our country and they live among us. So to say that he was training to be an electrician does not legitimize him from being a violent gang member. And we will continue to fight for the safety of Americans and get these people out of our country to make America safe. Every victim of crime deserves to be safe. And these families who have lost loved ones to these, they are foreign adversaries, they are terrorists, and they are living among us no longer. And especially after that ruling yesterday, they better start self-deporting.
Nice, right? And this is a little bit more sound before I welcome our new guests. This is a little additional sound from Stephen Miller, Stephen Joseph Goebbels Miller, of what he had to say about this whole thing.
Once someone's out of our country, that becomes the problem of their host country, not our country. These people chose to invade us.
These people chose to invade us. These people chose to invade us. Remember the necessary language being used there. Invasion. We hear it from Stephen Miller all the time. We heard it from Trump during the State of the Union. We heard it from that famous speech he gave around Inauguration Day. 19 times mentioned invasions. By using that, you can try to justify the illegitimacy of the people here, which is the premise for trying to get birthright citizenship overturned, and or using the Alien Enemies Act, and or using the Insurrection Act. He is still using it today. He's lying to you, and you guys are so fucking gullible that you believe it. Good evening, Anthony. Hold on, I have your thing. I got to do this. It's important. You get to use this.
Hello there.
And hello, Erica. Thank you both for being here. I appreciate you. Obi, you first. What's on your mind, my friend?
Greetings and salutations, and this also will be for Erica. This evening's dinner will be chicken tikka masala, basmati rice, and garlic naan.
Thanks for
Hey,
nothing.
You're having my national dish for dinner.
It is true. It is your national dish for dinner. First of all, Stephen Miller, I'm going to call you out, bro. How about you, me, and your rabbi sit in a room together and have a conversation, see how that works out for you?
Wow. Yeah, he is something.
You
Deputy Chief of Staff. That's crazy.
Yeah. You notice that even the terms that Pam was using were contradictory.
Absolutely.
And also,
her entire presser was
how,
contradictory.
Yeah. She slides in anti-labor comments, right? Dismisses people who do manual labor jobs. And then, clutch my pearls, where all the white schnazis and Trump supporters live, a.k.a. the villages. They had criminals. And listen, lady, that every single part of your existence is fake, including your hair. Let's go ahead and go there, right? You call yourself a Christian, yet you show up on TV wearing two different materials that should not be worn together. You adorn yourself with jewelry and makeup. You dye your hair. I thought you Christians were supposed to be all adhering to the 613 laws that exist in the books of Moses, because you certainly like to pull them out when it's convenient. But
wouldn't that be gender affirming care in a way, Obi?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, might be classified as such, right?
But
yeah, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But in her hypocrisy, right? What she doesn't understand, and here's what I would like her to answer. Hey, let's go ahead and talk about all the organized crime you ignored in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
How many different mafias exist in Florida? More than one. But
How about we ask her about her investigation into the fraud committed by Trump University, and then $25,000 fine later, and that case goes away.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next. And how interesting it is. Oh, and by the way, you had Kraft up here, which reminds me.
We're going to rename him as Crash. Yep.
Crash. When you and I first started doing our hosting things together, he was one of the guys that came up and tried to continue to make claims that he was dog walking us. So it's good to see that his ignorance has not changed.
That's true.
That he still does not understand the difference between civil lawsuits that would include slander versus the federal government taking away your right to the First Amendment.
Exactly.
Versus TikTok being a private entity that is allowed to set its own terms and conditions. And finally, you, as our humble, sexy, gray-bearded host, hey now. Speak when they get to speak in the order they get to speak in. It's your show. That would be like going on to Merv Griffin with his sexy, slender microphone as he runs around the room, right? And then try to tell Merv how to do a show, right? Or Phil Donahue, too, right?
That's right.
And, also a brief moment of silence, and I just forgot the guy's name. Wink Martindale has left us, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you old enough to remember.
Recently? Like today?
Yeah, within the last day or two. Yeah, it may have been yesterday or today.
Shit.
So Wink Martindale has left the building.
Wow.
By the way,
I would have thought he already did that. My gosh.
Can we just talk about Wink Martindale as a name and being a game show host? What else could he have done for a living?
Nothing. Broadcast, television, radio, maybe.
He would have been a great weatherman on radio.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now I'll shut up because I need to let the queen who is atop speaketh to the people.
Hello, Erica.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm radiant, as always.
Yes, you are. Some might say effervescent.
Well, I am bubbly. I want to correct some misinformation that I've heard going around today for the chat. The UK has not made being trans illegal, which is what I've heard from a ton of MAGA today. That is not what has happened. I'll really quickly explain, very high level. We have a thing called the Equality Act, which was passed in 2010, which has 9 separate protected characteristics. One of them is sex. One of them is gender reassignment. I've read through the majority of the 85-page ruling now. And basically what it states is that because being I can't think of the word, being treated differently on the grounds of sex, discriminated against, there we go, on the grounds of sex includes things like maternity, and trans men were being excluded from maternity cover and things like that. This ruling has been made that in the Equality Act, only with regard to the Equality Act, trans people are regarded as their as what they were assigned at birth, rather than the separate qualification of gender reassignment, which is also covered by the Equality Act. So it is still a protected characteristic to be a trans person in the UK. Just wanted to clear that up.
Scary nonetheless, but
yeah, it's super unclear, and the problem is it's based. Their ruling is based on things like an act from 1975. It's based on, because it's the Supreme Court, our Supreme Court. Their ruling is based on previous case law, much of which comes from a time where trans people weren't out in the open, and so we didn't have to have these discussions. So I think it's going to open the door for a lot of further discussion. For the moment, it's potentially problematic, but it remains to be seen how problematic it is. But it is not illegal to be trans in the UK.
Thank you for that clarification. I would like to address something. I didn't expect to have to do this, but I saw a comment scroll by earlier saying, did you guys hear the news about Facts having a domestic violence charge against him when he was younger? That's not me. There's another creator that is a very similar name to me. Apparently, this is something that has come up in their particular past. I am not here to judge. I am only here to say that that is not me. So I would hopefully people will take that, believe me or not, it's up to you, but that's just not me. Just wanted to let you know that. So
can I say something to do with that? I actually messaged Steve when that came up the other day and said, I would put money on it that someone will think that's you. And he said, I don't think they will. So I wish I had actually put money on it, because then he'd owe me money.
Well, this is we're not in this space very often. So there's people that I don't do lives on this show, so they may not know me as much. But you're right. Yep. So again, wasn't not me. Anyway, we'll leave it right there. So thank you to Lindsay, by the way, who just recently subscribed. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Really, really appreciate you. Really, really appreciate you. Appreciate that very much for doing that. We made a couple of slight changes to some of the items in the merch store. So if you have ordered recently, I read the news today. Oh boy, we're gonna move the text up a little bit. I was joking with Eve earlier because the text on the shirt was at Mipple, MIPPLE,
hey now.
Mipple level. So just wanted to make sure that we changed that a little bit. And I made her laugh when I said that, apparently. So yeah. Yep. Anyway.
Feel free to drop past Steve if you need to.
Okay. Hey, Drew, you've had a lot to say. I'm glad you finally came up. So what's on your mind? You said you had questions.
Actually, I was stating the questions in the chat. I don't know why I have to come up. I wanted to listen. I just had some questions that you identified and explained, but I'll talk if you want to talk. Honestly, I don't know enough about the subject. I really don't. Okay. I haven't been paying attention to it all that deeply, so I don't have. I only know some questions that come up. One in particular is apparently in that 2019 ruling, he wasn't able to go and get deported to El Salvador because it was dangerous. But it didn't mean that he couldn't get deported somewhere else.
Well, actually, El Salvador and Guatemala. So those two countries.
Well,
right. Okay. So then, fine. Let's take that. So then he was illegally deported to El Salvador.
Yeah, I say it looks that way. Yeah.
Well, it's not. It doesn't look that way. He was.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you support that?
No. Okay. It was improper. It was obviously, look, it's the same situation like the people that use the Lincoln Riley thing. Yeah, there's that one situation that's gonna, so yeah, this was a bad deportation and it's terrible, but he could have got deported to Egypt or anywhere else. So he could have been deported regardless. But we're going to use that as an argument against the whole policy.
Well, no, he should not have been deported because there was no due process. So it's easy to say that he could have been deported to a different country, but there was no reason to deport him. There was no criminal charges. There were no charges against him. There was no charges against him in El Salvador. So what would be the reason to deport?
The only thing that kept him here was a stay against his because it was dangerous.
True, that's incorrect. That's incorrect. It's incorrect. There was no due process. He was not afforded any due process before a deportation happened. So there is no. It was an illegal and unlawful deportation. And so who's telling the truth? Because Stephen Miller is saying that there was no mistake made. Pam Bondi is saying there was an administrative mistake made. So they're both lying, but why can't they get their story straight?
I don't know. I don't know.
So
I'm
this
not
is
up here to protect, to try to defend everything that the administration is doing. So,
well, you can't defend it. It's criminal.
I'm not trying to.
I know you can't.
Yeah.
So, but are you going to call it out?
Yeah, if that's wrong, then that's wrong. Absolutely. I'm just saying what you guys are doing. You're using it like the Republicans use Lincoln Riley for an example of the dangerous immigrants that are here. It's the same thing. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's not wrong. It was wrong that it was against a court order to have him deported to El Salvador. 100%. There's no way to even deny that.
So then why don't you go into right-wing space? Then go into right-wing spaces and tell them that.
I haven't been on any political things because it's getting like really insane. So I actually came on here for the first time in a long time. I don't know why my algorithm brought you guys back, because I really haven't been on any lives at all or paying attention to any political lives.
It's because you love me.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I missed the beard.
So again, this is the point, right? So this is the point. We've spoken before. You've got some. I'm going to give you a little bit of time until you crash out. I'm just kidding. You've got to be able to go into right-wing spaces and say to them exactly what you just said to me, that this was wrong. They have violated the agreement. There was no due process. He was not granted due process under the law. There was no criminal charges in the U.S., no criminal charges in El Salvador. He was not connected to a gang. They did not have evidence. The Department of Justice, even in their testimony to the Supreme Court, said we don't have any evidence of gang ties. The only thing that I said was, we have an uncorroborated witness that said that this guy's got gang ties. You've got to go into right-wing spaces and tell people that. Erica had a question for you.
Well, I was just going to point...
I'm sorry, Erica, go ahead.
That's all right. I was just going to point out to you, Drew, the reason that this isn't like Laken Riley in any way is because the government did not sanction what happened to Laken Riley. And Kilmar Abrego Garcia is not the only person this has happened to. 75% of the people that have been deported to El Salvador have no criminal charges against them, have not been up in a court of law to be able to prove their innocence. Have not had due process, which is required by the 5th and the 14th Amendments. The reason it's not like that is because this is government sanctioned and it is on purpose. That was neither government sanctioned nor on purpose by the government.
Okay. See, now this case from 2019, and correct me if I'm wrong, I may be wrong, because again, I haven't been paying all that much attention. He wasn't granted asylum, but he was granted a stay because of the danger to his life from being deported back to one of those two countries, both of those countries, right?
Correct.
But he still wasn't considered, like, the protection was to keep him from those countries that would give him harm. The protection wasn't that he was now in an asylum protection or any type of protection under immigration. That was just not true.
That's not entirely true, Drew. He was granted a form of asylum, and don't forget, you're missing
not a form of asylum.
Okay, but hold on. You're missing a significant element of all this, right? What did he do wrong?
He came into this country illegally. He didn't go and claim asylum within the time frame.
That's not true either.
You have 1 year to claim asylum. It was 7 years later.
Again, but you're missing something significantly important here, Drew. The administration claims that he is a violent criminal, and there is absolutely no evidence to support that anywhere. So why was he deported?
They said, the administration said, and again, you're making me defend something that I'm really not for. But let's go, I guess.
Stop trying to defend it. Then stop trying to defend it.
I'm just stating the fact of this case. I'm not
But
defending
they're
the
not the
entire
facts,
process.
Drew.
But those aren't the facts, though, Drew.
Let me tell you this, Drew. He was 16 years old when he came into the US.
Yeah.
He had no clue what the asylum law was. The reason that he was granted the stay, right, and I'm sure you remember being 16, right, Drew?
Somewhat. It was a little bit hazy, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Hazy as it probably is for us all, if it's now, decades later. But he was not an adult when he came into the US. He didn't know what the asylum law was. And so on a technicality, they could not grant him asylum. And so the stay was granted in place of asylum because he fits all the criteria for asylum. But because of the technicality of having to claim it within a year, the stay was granted in place of asylum.
That's not the way I read it. The way I read it was the stay was granted because of his safety of being deported to a place
that's
where
what asylum is, Drew. The word asylum means safety. The word asylum is used to prevent people having to go back to places where the situation is dangerous for them. That is exactly what asylum is, Drew.
I understand that, but you could be deported to a different country where there is no.
He wasn't,
risk.
Drew. But you're neglecting to address the fact that he was not deported to another country.
No,
and if he was
clearly
still
said that was a
talking,
mistake.
still talking, Drew. Thank you. But the point is as well, before he's deported anywhere, like anybody on US soil, he has the right to due process. And the thing is, I get that you're saying you're forcing, that your motivation isn't to defend this. And you said you're making me defend this. Nobody's making you defend this. You can just say that was a shitty thing to do. They shouldn't have done it. He should have had due process. But the fact that you keep coming up with the reasons that the government has said, which we've already pointed out, many of which are lies, you are choosing to defend it.
But I'm not arguing any of the lies that the administration is claiming. I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying that it wasn't wrong. I'm saying it was wrong that he went back to El Salvador because it clearly violates what was already what a judge already said he had to stay for. So I'm not saying that what they did was right in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that at all
because you didn't have all the facts of the case right either. So
I didn't.
now, hopefully,
I said that preliminarily in the chat that I wasn't very
good.
That it wasn't.
So then you also
wasn't very in tune to what was going on in this case.
You also had a question about why would he be, if he wasn't in a gang, why would he be afraid of other of gangs?
And then I looked it up myself, and then I found out the answer to that. Good work.
Yeah. Hey, Drew.
Good work.
I do that.
Long time, dude. I haven't seen you in, I don't even know, probably 6 or 7 months. Hope everything's been okay.
Yeah, everything's good.
And we've talked a lot over the last few years. One of the things you mentioned, I just want to help you clear up. The United States doesn't actually send people back anywhere but to their home country. And if they're unable to, they are allowed to stay for X amount of time. That's really up to the immigration judge. But the reason why we don't send them back to any other country is because we have agreements in place, right? So a lot of the UN charters that we
because we're coming after them,
cover off on that, right? So we can't just deport someone, to some random country where they would have no way of, one, speaking the language, two, being able to do it, and three, it's because we have all these agreements in place in which we don't just deposit people, right? I mean, I know it happens in the movies, but we don't actually do that.
Well, I mean, the Venezuelans are not being deported back to Venezuela. They're not accepted there, right?
Well, they've been given special asylum not only by President Trump's first term,
Yeah.
but also by Obama, by
No, what I'm
Bush,
saying is he's
by,
deporting. He's deporting
In
Venezuelans now.
Springfield, they're eating the dogs.
Drew.
No, what I'm
end
saying
of the
is
day,
he's deporting Venezuelans now to El Salvador, not to Venezuela, because Venezuela won't accept them.
well, he
Isn't that
can't
true?
deport them to. He can't deport them. You're close, but think about what you just said, though. So that's more criminality.
Well, I'm not saying whether it is or it isn't. I'm saying that's what's happening now.
It's criminal. It's criminal.
Venezuela won't accept them. I know, like with mob people back in the 50s and stuff, sometimes Italy wouldn't accept them and they would send them to another country.
Interesting that you're comparing Trump to a mob boss. I don't know if you meant to do that, but that was a very interesting pivot.
No, the government. No. The government.
End of the day, no. I'm sorry. I'm going to clip that for you, buddy. Don't worry, it's all good.
It wasn't what it said.
Okay. Well, you made the analogy, not me. Where this boils down to, Drew, is like, what are we going to do about it? What are you as a Trump voter? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? If you're going to come into this space that you haven't been yelled at, you've been screamed at, and you're admitting that this is a major error, you tried to find a way to kind of figure out, navigate through it. Erica did an amazing job breaking it down for you. Anthony reminded you of a bunch of other things. So now the ball is in your court. What are you going to do? Are you going to go to other spaces and say, guys, you're wrong about this shit? You are wrong. This is wrong what they did. They need to own this. They need to make it right.
Well, I don't go into spaces as much anymore, but like if I talk to somebody else who was also a Trump supporter, I've been very reluctant to just be all in on what Trump's been doing, and I have a lot of questions, and I'm really kind of concerned about some of the things that Trump's doing. So, and I make that very clear, and I make that abundantly clear. And believe it or not, people that I know personally that voted for Trump also have some of those concerns. So it's not like, maybe I'm just not considered MAGA like because most MAGA people, in my opinion, are like sports fans. Like, regardless if the call was made by the ref, if it's right or wrong, their team is their team and they're going to defend it no matter what. And that's usually like, I think MAGA people are like sports fans for their team, their home team. And
Agreed.
Democrats are more of the cult, but it's the same thing, really.
Democrats are more of the cult.
They're both crazy. So the fringe.
I'm sorry. Wait. Hold on a second. Wait.
We need to get back to the
Democrats are more of the cult.
Well, you guys are a cult, yeah. Because if you don't follow stringent rules, like you're basically abandoned from the cult. Like Bill Maher now will be abandoned from the cult.
What are the rules, Drew?
Bill Maher's an asshole. If he's not invited back, it's because he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Well, now he is, of course. Like,
he's always been an asshole.
If you do anything to break out of that cult-like behavior, and you act any differently, you will be expelled from the cult.
Okay, so observationally, Drew, this is what you're doing right now. This is the both sides argument that the right likes to make. It's easy to sit there and say, well, MAGA, I'm not MAGA. I don't agree with everything Trump does. There's other people that I know, but you Democrats are in the cult. No,
MAGA are like a team. They act like it's their
MAGA is a cult, Drew. MAGA is a bona fide cult. We have evidence of it. We can prove it. We see it every single day. An example of basic fundamental cult-like behavior is the inability to question the leader. No matter what the leader says, they will believe it. That is MAGA. There is nothing like that exists on the left. Not even close. Nothing, not even close.
Because the left it's almost its own entity aside from politics.
No, Drew, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong here.
No, Drew.
The left holds its own accountable. There are many examples of this. Al Franken being an example of a Democratic representative who did something he shouldn't have done, and he was held accountable by his own party.
Anthony Weiner, Bob Menendez.
Yeah, Bob Menendez is another example.
It's fun when that happens.
But I'm gonna give you the counter example of Matt Gaetz, who has not been held accountable by his own side for any of the plethora of stuff that he's done. He was not held accountable. Nobody has done anything to try and bring him to justice from the right. Nobody has called him out none of the right have called him out in any public forum.
Because it's a team sport.
No,
because
no. I also want to point out to you, Drew, that cult expert Stephen Hassan has literally written a book called The Cult of Trump. He has not written a book about the cult of Biden or the cult of Kamala, because a cult has to have a charismatic leader.
Correct.
That is one of the main, the fundamental things that makes a cult a cult. It needs a charismatic leader. And you're talking to someone, by the way, who did their master's degree on cults from a sociological perspective. One of the defining factors of a cult is a charismatic leader. There is no charismatic leader in the Democratic Party. In fact, what you will find is Trumpers saying, well, he's not in the Democratic Party, though.
Exactly.
He's further left than the Democrats. You will find Trumpers saying, hey, Democrats have got no leader. Can you tell me how you can have a cult with no charismatic leader?
Are Mormons a cult?
Leader of the Democrats. Are what?
Mormons.
Absolutely.
Okay, who's their charismatic leader?
Joseph Smith.
Now.
Joseph Smith.
No, well, you're mistaking it for the charismatic leader. What? Doesn't have to remain.
Jesus was the charismatic leader of the
Joseph
of the
Smith
cults?
was Joseph Smith was the charismatic leader. Joseph Smith was the charismatic leader of Mormons, and now I don't know whether you know a lot about Mormonism, but they believe that there are further prophets. So when a new prophet is anointed by the church, that person becomes the charismatic leader.
So who's the charismatic leader in the Democratic Party today, Drew?
You'd have to say Obama, right?
Is he the leader of the party?
I think indirectly he is.
Indirectly?
I think he is, yeah. I think if you're going to name a leader of the Democratic Party, who else do you name?
Exactly. So who's the leader of the Republican Party?
Right now, Donald Trump.
So he's active, right? He's the president?
He's the president.
Right. So then can we move past your ridiculous both sides argument? MAGA is a cult. MAGA falls in line. Democrats fall in love. MAGA falls in line. They will do whatever.
To family members that voted for Trump?
I don't have family members that voted for Trump, but I've disassociated myself from people who I thought were friends because they voted for Trump.
It's cult-like.
It's what?
It's cult-like.
No. And again,
it's not.
Again, I'll tell you why
it's not.
I'll tell you
On
why.
the contrary.
I'll tell you why it's not, Drew. Because in a cult, it is the charismatic leader who tells you to disassociate.
So let's call it something else.
No, Drew.
She's talking, Drew.
Okay.
In a cult, it is the charismatic leader who makes you, and I'm going to use the Scientology term here, disconnect from family members who have been deemed to be, I can't remember the term now, but it is the cult that defines that you have to disassociate from people. It is not you as an individual who get to decide. The fact that you as an individual get to decide those things, and if you want to tell me, by the way, that there aren't Republicans who have or MAGA members who have disassociated from family, you're going to have to make a very strong case for that. But this is what I'm going to tell you, is that it is the cult that decides you have to do that. I have never heard the cult leader or Obama, as you are saying, tell anyone to disassociate from family members. Oh yeah, in Scientology, it's a suppressive. It's a suppressive person in Scientology. So no.
It's been a consensus of Democrats that you guys were going to disassociate from anyone who voted for Trump. It's been talked about on lives. It's been talked about by Congress members. It's been talked about by everyone. I mean,
which Congress member?
Okay, so let's unpack that for a second.
With Trump, people that voted for Trump. Family members.
Let's unpack that for a second. Let's unpack it. Okay. So we know that the Republican Party the conservative movement in America wants to eliminate certain members that are part of certain groups in our society. They want to erase history. They want to continue to suppress women. They want to violate it. They want to defund public education. They want Christian nationalists. They want a Christian society. They want to put Bibles in schools. All these kinds of things. They want to take away SNAP benefits for kids. They want to shut down healthcare. Why should people who support those things want anything to do with a group of people that do that? Why?
Well, if you have two choices to make in an election, I don't think that a lot of people that voted for the other choice, the choice that you didn't like, really held to the values of everything that particular party ran on. I really don't. And the more you want to believe that, the more you guys are going to lose in the future, because I lean more to the left.
You didn't answer my question. I want to go back to the question. Okay, I'm not going to let you pivot away from this. So you claimed that. So the argument that I'm making, you asked why we would disassociate, and I just gave you a litany of reasons why.
And I just explained that I understand your point, because what you're saying is anybody that voted for Trump essentially voted for all those things.
Voted against those things.
Voted for their policies.
Yeah, voted for the defunding public education, violating the Constitution, all these kinds of things that I would think somebody who claims to be an American would be angry about.
Yeah, but you don't. But each person has their individual right to. There may be things on the left that didn't feel right to this person, that really probably maybe wasn't so informed in politics like we are. And I wouldn't even say we. I wouldn't even say we. I would say you, because I'm not nearly as engulfed in politics as you guys are.
But that's an excuse, though. That's an excuse.
It's not.
So
it's just a fact.
It is an excuse. No, it's an excuse. It's an excuse to not be informed. You can make a choice to decide, I'm going to learn more about how many times have I've had conversation with so many people to say that Kamala Harris didn't tell us, we had no idea what her economic policy was. Well, why wasn't it available to me? Why did I read it? Why do people that I know read it?
Steve, there's so many people in America that are just living day to day.
Let me just finish my question. We got to stop. We got to stop making excuses. So for
I'm
people
not making
to say,
excuses. It's just there's facts.
Okay, but that's an excuse for people to not know more. It's an excuse. It's an excuse. There's no other way around it. If you truly care about things, like do you know what Kamala Harris' policy was about first time?
Did I know what her policy was? On what?
Oh, I heard you then when you said hold on. I just want to point out to you, Drew.
I just want to let him answer. Hold on a second.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm sorry. I want you to answer this question. Do you know what her economic policy was regarding small businesses and first-time homebuyers?
I do.
What were they?
I think if I remember correctly, it was $50,000 tax. Where you'd be able to write off $50,000 on your taxes in the first year for opening a business.
Subsidized, yeah, for small business owners, and then similar program
if we're being honest, to have $50,000 in profit at the end of the year of your first business, that's a very small percentage. That really doesn't.
First of all, it's not the first year. If you read the program, there are graduated rates for repayment. So again, that's an example.
What was the graduated rates? If you read it,
I don't have it off the top of my head. My guy,
okay. All right. So neither one of us really know. All right. So then, secondly,
I've read it.
No, you don't know because you can't say it.
No, Drew, I've read it.
No, I'm right, and you're wrong.
No, Drew, you're a punk because you're a simp for Trump.
Oh,
you are.
Oh,
you're a simp for Trump.
Out on me. Don't crash out
on me. I'm not crashing out, man. I'm sick and tired of talking to people.
And then
I'm sick and tired.
It really sounds like you are. Oh, here we go.
I'm sick and tired talking to people who are fucking ignorant. You're ignorant.
Drew, you're crashing.
You're crashing, Drew.
I'm really not.
You're ignorant.
All I did was call him out on the fact that he didn't have the details.
No, because
and he was
I didn't have it in front of me.
Whether or not I knew Kamala Harris's details of her.
So Drew,
and then I turned around and asked him a question And
No,
he said
Drew.
that it was
This
graduating.
is the issue. No, because you didn't know
But
that.
you don't even know if that's true. I don't even think that's true, honestly.
How do you know? You said you read it.
Because I think you're full of shit. I think you just say whatever, just to sound like you know what you're talking about.
Thing started, Drew. This whole thing started because you tried to make the claim. This whole thing started because you tried to make the claim. No, you're not going to look. Actually, I'm kind of just done with your conversation because you're a fucking idiot, and I got to find the right one.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
So you're done. You can look it up. You can come back. But this is the problem with people like you, Drew, is that you are so fucking indoctrinated. You try to come up here as this hero. I get it. I call out my party. You don't give a fuck about anybody but yourself. You're selfish. You're ignorant, and you're in a cult. And I'm sorry if your feelings are hurt. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm not sorry at all. In fact, I've even got something better for you.
You ever accidentally broken your mom's favorite coffee cup, and when she found out you did it, she tied you to a bed and spanked you with a metal spatula? If you said yes to any of these things, I don't care.
Sorry, Erica.
No, that's okay. I was just going to point out to him the one thing, and I was only going to do this because you were away, by the way, and I was just filling time. But I was just going to point out to him that I, as a person from a whole ass other country who also has a life and shit to do, I read both of their policies. So I don't understand why somebody who is actually voting in the election wouldn't take the time out to do that, because we all have lives, Drew. All of us.
Oh my God.
Not down with whatever. I would appreciate you hopping in the box because you're
not
talking
down with sickness. Please come up to the box and talk to us.
You're talking about why would people pay for small businesses, which, by the way, would cost you significantly less than Donald Trump's proposed tax cuts on billionaires. So you're paying for that.
Weird. So funny thing is that you'll bitch and moan about student loan forgiveness. You'll bitch and moan about programs that would offer subsidies for first-time home buyers and subsidies for small business owners. You'll complain about that, saying we can't afford it, but you guys will sign all up with blood in your quill pen for more tax cuts for the rich. What? And I suppose, not down with the sickness, that you're one of those people that believes that tariffs are going to solve all of our problems and that it's going to be government spending. Did you know, by the way, that the first 100 days of the Trump administration, if you use a similar period of time in 2024, that Musk and Doge and Trump and all those savings have spent $154 billion more than the Biden administration did during the same period last year? All that savings? You probably didn't know that, did you? So, Drew, while you're looking shit up, see if you can find a clue while you're looking. I'm sure you can find one there, too.
I was surprised you let Drew up, to be honest, because Drew's just chaos.
Yeah, well, he's insufferable. You know, he's kind of fun. I like to kind of embarrass him. You know, it's kind of, I guess that's my kink. I haven't told anybody about that. That didn't show up on that was a different category in the BDSM test. It said Drew.
Drew is not my kink. Just so that we know.
We know that.
We know.
I don't think there's anybody else out there. Probably not going to bring up any unfriendlies. It doesn't seem like anybody else is gonna join us after that. So unless last minute call for down with the sickness. If you want to jump in the box, I don't know if you will or if you won't. I don't care. I just would like to know if you want to jump in the box. We can have a conversation. Otherwise, I think we'll just end early. And because it's bedtime for you, it's already 2:00 in the morning, and you want to be up too late. But. I guess let's do that. Erica, any final words?
Yeah, you're not my real dad. You can't tell me when to go to bed.
I got this for you. This is going to be everybody. I want to leave you with this.
I'm going to come.
Oh dear. Don't do that again. Please. I've got the ick.
I'm entitled.
I've just got the ick, Steve.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
I mean, it was funny, but.
Okay, I guess we're going to end. Thanks, everybody, for joining tonight. Next Wednesday, just a programming note. Sorry, no live tomorrow morning. No live on Friday morning. And then no Facts After Dark. So probably not going to see me unless I show up on somebody else's live over the next couple of days. My apologies about tomorrow morning. And then on Saturday, I'm going to be attending the Hands Off Rally that will be in our state. I'll be there. I'm probably going to broadcast live from there at some point or stream live from there. We'll see how that goes. And then next Wednesday night, myself and USMC, Angry Vet, and Felice will be on a live together doing these series of virtual town halls. We're going to kick it off next week. So that'll be next Wednesday night, 7 p.m. So no debate night, no Drew, no Crash Bandit. It'll just be us talking about how we defend democracy against authoritarian takeover and fascistic rule. So please join us for that. And as another reminder, in the link tree that is in my bio, you can find the actual official affiliate link to the Unfuck America campaign tour. I've been invited to participate in that group, which I'm honored by. A lot of amazing creators were on the call last night talking about a whole bunch of stuff. I'm sadly not going to be able to attend the initial event, which is in College Station, Texas, next week at Texas A&M. Those of you who don't know, this is to combat Charlie Kirk spreading his bullshit rhetoric around college campuses. So that's going to be a cause. It's going to continue, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. So a lot of stuff happening. And if you want to support sending your boy out on the road to do these kinds of things, then you can use the affiliate link and donate through ActBlue. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, mods, for being here tonight. I appreciate you.
Can I say there's one thing? Somebody
Please.
in the comments asked if there was something wrong. There is not anything wrong. Steve has dad duties to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I
and
got
Friday.
dad stuff.
He's got
yeah.
So
all three of my kids require attention over the next 72 hours.
So he's not my real dad, but he is three people's real dad.
Three people's real dad.
Three humans' real dad, and sometimes he has to do dad shit.
Sometimes you got to do dad shit. That's right, which I love. But yes, it does take some mental energy. Thank you for saying that. Thank you, friends. Love y'all, and we'll see you over the weekend. If not, I'll be up and down someplace.